Okay, you guys know that the purpose of our meeting is to discuss our C-scope lessons, how we need to structure what's going on so that it meets the requirements that they're telling us that we need to meet in order for the walkthroughs to be successful, so that to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do in order to do well on the walkthroughs. So I'm going to be facilitating, but you guys are going to be giving the feedback, the information that's needed in order to give them some kind of idea as to what it is or how we plan to enhance or correct the things that we're doing so that it meets the guidelines and qualifications that the district administrators are going to be looking for and what they're looking for as a whole. The first item to discuss is the C-scope curriculum alignment for each content area for math, ELAR, science, and social studies. How it is aligned. Now, we all know that C-scope, we don't have a choice in that. That's our curriculum. That's what we're going to use. But when I spoke to Ms. Lincoln and Tashalon, what they're wanting us to do for the most part is to make sure that if social studies and ELAR can be combined some kind of way where you can get that in and spend more time on those subject areas where students are having the most difficulty. That's what they want us to do, which means you're going to have to look ahead in your lesson plans, C-scope curriculum, to see when things are happening and how you can fit them in within that 6 weeks period. Now, I mean, some things are just so stretched out so far apart that you're not going to be able to do that. But they want us to take a look at it and see where we can combine some of these things to teach the objectives that need to be taught, but still get the information covered, and then have extra time, if there's any, to focus more on those subject areas where students are struggling the most, and that's going to be in math and our reading. So, has anybody looked ahead, or have any first grade, have you looked to see if there are some things that you can combine, or have you been doing that at any point in planning your lessons? Anybody in first grade, or you guys are just
I
going?
know the next week's social studies lesson was, I moved the weather unit up to this coming, because science is in weather.
Okay.
So I tried to adjust that, because a lot of it's the same activities and maybe a little bit different focus as far as location for where the weather is. And so I did change that.
And that's what they're wanting us to do as much as possible, so that you can have time to teach those subject areas where students are struggling the most. Because some of the things can be combined. And I know, like for kindergarten, what we're doing, we may teach the lesson one day during the week, whole group lesson, and talk about the objectives and what it is we're learning and what we're talking about, and then we put it in a station. And we don't necessarily visit it whole group all week long. Now, you may come back to it like at the end of the day when we're getting together and rehashing what we've talked about during the school day, the things that they learned and things we need for them to remember. We may talk about it a little bit, but the lesson in its entirety has been taught like at the beginning of the week, and so they're applying anything and everything that they've learned in a station somewhere. And we've checked with them, and they're okay with that, for us to do it. So what they want us to do is to combine wherever we can, make sure it's integrated as much as possible, so that you have extra time to teach those skills or objectives that students are really struggling with. Any questions on that? All right. Moving on to prerequisite skills needed at each grade level and the vertical alignment of curriculum. This is one of the reasons why they want us to meet together, pre-K, K, and first, because we need to know, as kindergarten teachers, what it is our students exactly need to know coming into first grade. Because it's like we were saying, or like Tashawn was saying a little while ago, if they come to you and they don't have those standards that were supposed to be taught here in kindergarten, if they don't have those things already in place, C-Scope doesn't allow for you guys to go back and reteach the things that they should have gotten here. So we need to make sure that we're covering those things and that the kids have exactly what they need in order to move on to first grade and then start to build on what they've gotten here. Now, we don't have any control over the what they lose over the summer, because kids do lose information over the summer, but we've got to make sure that we've taught the information and that those kids have that information coming into first grade. And pre-K, I think Holly does a good job of preparing our pre-K students to enter kindergarten. The only problem there is that everybody doesn't have pre-K. They don't have that opportunity. So she can only do what she can do with the ones that we get. And unfortunately, that leaves maybe we get about 5 or 6 pre-K students coming from Holly into each of our classrooms. Well, then you've still got well over half of your classroom that haven't had that experience. And so we've got both ends of the spectrum. We've got students coming to us that have letter knowledge, sound. They've gotten those skills, objectives, because they've been in the pre-K classroom with Holly. And then we've got kids that are coming to us that haven't had any experience. So you've got both ends of the spectrum, and we've got to make sure that these that are coming with nothing, we've got to make sure that they get up here so that they're ready to move on to first grade.
So are they asking like what the grade level below needs to like cover or touch
Exactly.
on each?
Exactly.
So we just need to, like first grade, I wrote it on here, first grade needs kinder to cover.
And what skills coming in? Because I know you guys do a review. It's the whole first 6
Well, we
weeks.
don't really have a time to do review.
That's what I'm saying. There's no
Since we
time for a
started this year,
review.
we did not do a review. We went straight in, and we're struggling right now. Mid-year, usually our kids are at the point where we're getting ready to read. They're supposed to be reading on their own at this point. But we have a lot that are not. Because when they came to us at the beginning, we used to have a 6-week period where we were not doing report cards. We were reviewing everything that they learned. Well, you know, majority of the things that they needed to have when they were in first grade. Well, what happened this year, they came straight into first grade. Things like numbers. I have some kids now that do not know their numbers between 10 and 20. And alphabetic knowledge, and that B and that D. I know some things are developmental. We understand that. But by mid-year, you should have understood that. Things like
I have several students who
blending.
are struggling to even blend the sounds.
Right.
And you tell them act, they can't put it together for cat.
And so, and I know it's not, I'm not going to say that it's not kinder doing what they're supposed to be doing. I do have to admit that it's probably part of regression. Another part is the fact that we moved straight into C-Scope with no review. Another part is C-Scope going as fast as it is without us being able to go backwards. You know, we're supposed to reteach, but being able to do that reteach in a timely fashion, you know, being able to have that strong foundation before going on to the next activity, that's really, really hard.
Well, you gotta
So-
think, we're missing that too.
Right.
Yes.
And so when
Along
and it's
with
just
y'all,
moving.
it just starts in kinder because
Yeah.
we miss a lot of foundation, especially, social and emotional.
Right.
And then you've got to top that off with academics because same thing, we're going so fast into, we feel like this has to be mastered here, but by the end of the year, really, it's more of a developing for kinder in
Yeah.
developing into first.
Yeah.
So
So
there's no,
we need to master something. One thing we know for sure we need to master, they need to be writing on the line. That's hard. Super hard. They need to be able to write smaller. A lot of these letters are like giant coming in. They need to know the difference between the upper and the lower, where they know in their name they're not going to have capital letters for 3 letters, and the rest of them are lowercase. They need to have those numbers in place, at least to 20. That's a struggle when you don't know those numbers, and then we going on. Now we're doing place value, and it's hard. you know, with the tens place and the ones place. And knowing that 30 is actually bigger than, you know, 13. They get 31 and 13. A lot of that reversal stuff is going on. And that's a struggle, and we're gonna keep moving. And we can't go backwards. And so right now, I think our grades in first grade are lower than they've been ever. And this is the first time I've ever had as many kids as I do have failing in the first grade. So I don't know where else we can go from here. but-
See, that's surprising to me,
Yeah, because,
because I felt like with the new adoption, we had, like, I mean, I've told even them, like, I felt like it was like the most successful year as far as kids being where, at least in reading, you know, I mean, and.
where they're supposed to be.
But I wonder if
That's
it's not
surprising.
sticking because we're moving so fast.
That's
Very
one of the things.
possible.
and
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I'm
Yeah, they're not having the
being done.
opportunity
Is it
to
staying?
soak it up.
Exactly. Is it
Yeah.
staying? Is it strong? Or is it just
And I
a...
mean,
Right.
all the kids that,
The kids that got it, they got it. I mean, I've got some that came from
I mean,
us.
are they
Yeah.
from
That are-
us, all of them
yeah,
that
I
are
have
failing are
some
from
that-
us? Are they both? I mean, that's
Both.
something we
There's
need
both.
to, I mean.
I'm going to say
But-
both. yeah.
But, I mean, we
I mean,
have
in my
some
class.
kids, I have some kids from us that are like, they're extremely on target.
Right.
They're super, they're good, you know, no
And
problem
I
at all.
think the kids...
And then
yeah.
I have some kids that it's okay. Yesterday you could blend the word cat. Today you told me bird instead of cat. Let's try it again. And you know, we're redoing the blending
Right.
every day. And no matter how many times I reteach, we're still working on the word cat.
But I think a lot of that is those kids who are already low.
Right.
In other words, they came
Yeah.
in where that parent might have been told, we need another year of kindergarten.
Right, and they
And that
decline.
parent denied
Yeah,
it.
but don't you think we should like talk about that?
Well,
And
at this
like
point,
get the names out and let us, like, you know, we talked about that
Right.
earlier in the summer, like,